Welcome to Shul.com. We are learning from the book Otzar, Ishe, HaTanach from Ishe Hasidah. It's a beautiful book. It discusses all the Anshe HaTanach in detail with all the sources. Very well written. I have the Hebrew version. There is an English version as well. But always, if you could learn from the Lashon HaKodesh, it's always better. So let's take a look. We're going to discuss Ishiyato, his life. Noach was a Sadiq. We're going to discuss the Teva and some of the interesting things that are brought down from the Sfarim on Noach. First, Asara Dorot Me'adam ad Noach, as brought down in Avot 5-2, 10 generations from Adam to Noach. Metushelach, Hacham Gadol Haya. Metushelach was very intelligent. Vayam Mazhir le'aviv, he would warn the father of Noach, Shelo yikra'enu b'shmo, that you should not give him a name. Because all the people, the generation of the Mabul, they were all mechashefim, they would all do types of black magic and voodoo. Maybe they're going to kill him with keshafim, with the magic. When he was born, Noach, they called him Noach. Aviv, and his father, Lemech Amar Kara Oto Menachem. He said, his father Lemech said, call him Menachem. Zeyina Hameni. That's brought down Bereshit Hey Chaftet. That's Yalkut Shemonim Bereshit Membet. Kevan Shechata Adam Harishon Mardu Alav. When Adam Harishon sinned, they rebelled on him. Apara Lo Hayta Nishma'at LaChoresh. The cow wouldn't listen to the Choresh, the one who was pushing behind with the tools. V'atelem lo haya nishma lechoresh. Also the Telem wouldn't listen to the Choresh. Kevan she'amad Noach nachu. When Noach was born and he stood, they started to listen again. That's brought down in Bereshit Rabbah, Kafei Bet. Ad shelo amad Noach, until Noach came, hayu hamayim odim umsapim otam betoch kivrehem. The waters would rise and cover them inside of their burial places. When Noach stood and he came, they stopped. So we see from Noach, as he's born, how the nature is changing to benefit humanity. Before Noach was born, not when they would plant would they harvest. They would plant hitim, and they would have to take out all types of weeds and thorns. When Noach was born, the world kind of reset to its creation. They would be able to cut the crops that they planted. Until Noach, they did all of their work with their bare hands. Noach, when he was born, he created all types of tools and farming tools, equipment, and kelei melacha, tools for working, that would allow them to do their work much easier. Every one of the generation was giving birth at 50, 60, and 70 years. And he at 500 years. God controlled him in order to prevent him from being fertile and giving birth to having children. So he shouldn't have a son that's 100 years old and that would die in the Mabul. And so he wouldn't have a lot of children, and they would die in the door Mabul. And that's put down the Midrash Socher Tov. Chacham haya v'haya mevin lechishat sifsuf kol hanivraim v'remizyatam. He knew all of the different ways to sound and to communicate with all the creatures, all the birds, all the animals, and he understood when they would communicate with each other what they were saying and what was going on. Sefer Refuot katav Noach mipi Rafael HaMalach. So the original Sefer Refuot was written by Noach from Rafael HaMalach himself. Hamateh shenivra erev Shabbat ben Hashemashot. The stick that was created on Friday, ben Hashemashot, higiya ad Noach, it reached Noach, umasro el Shem v'toldotav, and Shem gave it to his children. Haya omed lahem, he would tell the people of his generation, Rekim, you guys are really silly and empty. Atem minichim mi shekolo shover azim. The God whose voice can break cedars trees, mishtachavim le'etz yavesh, and you're worshiping dried wood. Now we spoke about this in the past, that seemingly it looks like they were just oved, the wood, or seemingly simple things, but these were very intelligent people. They were using and had the ability to control nature and how to do supernatural things, all using magic, using astrology, astronomy, and all types of powers of the universe and of physics that we don't really understand today. And because they were able to do these things, they became spoiled in the sense that they started to worship the wrong things, and it took them away from God. Ishtol shel Noach hayu shikudim ma'aseha keshel Noach. The wife of Noach, her actions were like Noach also, meaning she was also tzaddiket. Noach mechusar amana haya. Noach didn't have a lot of emunah. He was lacking emunah. Iluleh shehigiu mayim ad karsulav. Until the water reached his karsulav, lo nichnas teva. He didn't go into the teva. So until the water was really rising and coming up, he didn't go in. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this. We explained earlier also that Noach knew astrology and astronomy, and he had seen that it didn't show that there was going to be any mabul. And so even when it came, he seemingly delayed until he saw the malach hamavet, and then he got scared and he ran inside. I feel Noach shenishtayer mehim lo shehaya kedai ela shetzafa kadosh baruch hu sheMoshe atid latzet mimenu. He said, it says here, it's not that Noach was kedai in order to be saved, rather that God saw that Moshe was going to come out of him, and so he saved him. Again, there's of course two schools of thought, that Noach was a huge tzaddik, Noach was a big tzaddik, like the song says, Noach is a big tzaddik. There is that school, and there's a school of thought that he wasn't. We, and the Hachamim, and the Rabbotenu, we fall under the category that Noach was a big tzaddik. According to many of the Mefarshim, we give him that credit. Afal pi shesadik haya Noach, even though he was a tzaddik, lo haya kedai she'akadosh baruch hu yagen al ha'olam bizchuto. It wasn't enough zechut that of him being a tzaddik that God would save the whole world, save him and his family, yes, but not everybody else. That's the Zohar. Now, Noach yareh lenafsho haya shelo yamut im reshaim. Noach was fearful for his soul that he shouldn't die with the wicked people. Bo ur'eh ma ben Moshe the ben acharim. Look at the difference between Moshe and others. Moshe kishamad lo hakadosh baruch hu ba'ata hanichadi. When God said, "Okay, now leave me," I'm going to make you a big nation. In Shemot Lamed Bet Dash Yud, Amar Moshe. This is because of me, I'm going to leave all the judgment of Israel. He started to pray, and Noach, and Noach, that Hashem told him he's going to be safe from Teva. He didn't ask of any rachamim, and they all died. Noach chai achara pelaga eser shanim. Noach lived after the daughter Pelaga 10 years. So what this means is that from the time of Adam Rishon until Noach, until the daughter Pelaga, they only spoke Lashon HaKodesh. There was also Aramit. We also know it's written that Adam Rishon spoke Aramit. So there's really Lashon HaKodesh and Aramit. The two languages are the only ones that are spoken or known, where Lashon HaKodesh is the one spoken. And Noach lives 10 years after Pelaga, so he ends up seeing that the world goes into 70 languages and is bilbil. It has the bilbul in the languages. Okay, Sadiq. Oh, now Noach being a Sadiq. Shlosha Siddiqim hayu yesod olam. There were 3 Siddiqim that were the yesod olam. Adam, Harishon, Noach, and Abraham. Unbelievable. Only 3 people get this category. Noach ish Sadiq tamim haya bedorotav. Bedorotav velo bedorot acherim. In his generation and not other generations. That statement doesn't have any rabbi's name on it. That's in Sanhedrin Kuf Chet Amud Bet. Sanhedrin 108b. V'resh Lakish Amar bedorotav, in his generation, v'chol sheken bedorot acherim. Rish Lakish says, no, of course, his generation, then of course, in every generation he's going to be a tremendous tzaddik. Ele toldot Noach, lo hayta kavanato ela lehafarot v'harbot ba'olam u'hamid banim. His kavanah, it was to have to grow the family and the world and to have boys. Noach hayam metuken mitichalato lenes. Okay, he was going to have from the beginning look forward towards a miracle. Noach hasadik mochiach otam. Noach would give types of hochacha and rebuke to the Dor Mabul. Ve'omer lahem devarim shehem kashim kelapidim vayum mevazim oto. He would speak to them very harshly, and they would mevazeh him. They would laugh at him, and they would put him down. And that's brought down also in Sanhedrin 108. Noach nolad mahul. Noach was born with a brit milah. Noach mahul haya v'tamim. It was not only had a brit milah, it was also tamim. Peri'ah lo hayta bo. He didn't have peri'ah. Because katuv bo et ha'elohim hitalech Noach. Because of that, it says et ha'elohim hitalech Noach. Noach hechzit bibrit v'shamar oto b'nei zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu shamar oto. Noach held on to the brit and protected it, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu protected him. Meaning he was a tzaddik. He didn't fall into immorality, and even though everyone was doing that and it was open and permitted in all types of ways, he was shomeret. Ashrei ha'ish medubar benoach. In Tehillim Aleph Aleph, the first perek, Ashrei is talking about Noach. Asher lo halach ba'atzet reshaim. He didn't go in the pathway of the reshaim. Bishlosha haderot, in the three generations, bedor enosh, bedor mabul, bedor pelaga. In Dor Enosh, they started worshipping the constellations in Avodah Zarah, and he lived in that generation, Noach. He lived in the nation of the Dor Mabul, that was with immorality and theft, where they legalized it, and they allowed people to steal, they allowed people to sleep with other married people, they allowed men with men, women with women, they did all those bad things. And they allowed it, Bedor Mabul, Bedor Pelaga, and Dor Pelaga, they started to fight God. They were unified, and they were very smart and strong and intelligent, but they started to fight God. He was focused in the Torah of Hashem. Elu Sheva Mitzvot. That was the 7 Noachide laws. Uptorato Yehege Shehaga Davar Mitoch Davar. So he was able to figure out Davar Mitoch Davar, the Torah, which is unbelievable. Haya Zan Umfarnes et Aviv et Avi Aviv. He would feed and mefarnes his father and his grandfather, v'chol avotav, shechayu be'oto sha'a, and all of his predecessors that were around. Why? Because Noach created farming tools and all types of kelei melacha. So Noach seemingly probably was very, very rich. He created these items. He also was the only person born without webbed fingers. So Noach was a very blessed, successful person. So he used that blessing to feed his family, help his family, and advance them. Noach ra'a ma'aseh bnei adam shehem mekulkalim. He saw the ways of man that they were going in the wrong way. Haya mithabbe atzmo bechadeh lo lehitapes bedarchechem. He stayed away, didn't want to get involved in all their ways and their pathways. Be'asak be'avodat Hashem, and he focused just in the worship of God. Asak be'sifro shel Adam HaRishon. He was osek in learning the book of Adam HaRishon, u'besifro shel Chanoch, and the book of Chanoch. Belomed mizeh ech lavod Hashem, and he used those two books, the book of Chanoch and the book of Adam, to learn how a person worships Hashem. There is pathways, there is methods, there's things a person can do. It's more complicated than is well advertised. Ki me'en haya Noach yodeh lahakriv korban lebar'o. So from where did Noach know how to make a korban? Ela mishum shematzah chokhmah. He found wisdom. That's brought down in the Zohar. Haya Abraham bebet Noach v'shem beno mishinato ha'asirit. From the 10th year, his son ולימד שם תורה, and he taught Torah Moser Hashem ל-39 שנה. So Abraham was in the house of Noah, and Shem, his son, from the 10th year, and he learned until the 39th year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Abraham saw Noah for Noah Shanim, 58 years total. But this is one of the sources that I put down. Noah nistava al Eved min achai. Noah was the first one to have the mitzvah of Eved min achai. Why? Because he was the first one to be commanded to eat meat. Before him, they were only vegetarians. They only ate produce that came out of the ground. No one was allowed to kill any types of creatures. Noah kiyem ma shekatuv b'Torah va'yiben Noach mizbeach laHashem. As it says, he built a mizbeach. The teva. Let's take a look at this. Me'ah ve'esim shana haya Noach noteya arazim bekotetzan. For 120 years, Noach was planting cedars and cutting them. Amru, they would tell him, Bishvil ma ze, what are you doing this for? Amar lahim, kacha amar ribon ha'olamim shehu mevi mabul al ha'olam. So, for 120 years, he was planting and cutting trees. He used his own farming in order to produce the products to build the boat, the teva. Amru lo, imhu yavi mabul, if he's going to bring a mabul, lo yavi ela al betecha. He said, if he brings a mabul, it's only coming on you, buddy. It's not coming on anybody else. Kevan shemet metushelach. When Metushelach died, Metushelach was the grandfather of Noah and the biggest tzaddik. He lived 969 years. He lived more than Adam Arishon. Amru lo, they told him, and that was a week before the Mabul. They started laughing at him. Hine lo ba Mabul ela al betecha. They said it was 120 years he's building the Mabul, and then Metushelach dies, and they're laughing at him, and they mevazeh him, and they tell him, you are telling us there's going to be a Mabul? The only Mabul is the Mabul that came on Noah. Hayu mevazim oto, mechanim oto, zaken bazui. They would tell him, you old, defiled old man. And now that we see some of these things, you kind of understand, at least to some extent, why Noah was not going out of his way to pray for these people. Noah was a tzaddik, Hashem was going to save him. He knew that. But now you start to understand, they were putting him down left and right, even when he was going out of his way to kind of give them the insight, like, hey, guys, God is going to do this. So it says here that when it says that God literally showed Noah how to build the teva in a way to build it. 50 years he built the teva. And it was a big secret. And it was a big secret to know which tree he had to put that would plant and grow for 120 years. And he would be notea them from 120 years. Whichever ones grew 50 amma. Chalon asa Noach b'mador ha'edyon. So Noach made a window on the mador, on the top floor. Whoever looked out, he was able to see from one end of the world until the other end of the world. This kind of goes back to what we were discussing earlier in regards to the way the world was before the time of Noach, where it was one landmass. It was a flat plain. There were no 4 seasons. It was a one season of springtime the whole year. There was bodies of water around this one island. It was a flat plain. All these things when play into picture that the world of Noah was very different before and after the Mabul. Lech el Pishon v'kach misham peninim me'irot v'tasimem b'tevat ha'ir. So he says here to go to Pishon, that's the river, and to pull out of it peninim, me'irot, so those like different types of stones or gemstones in order to have illumination inside the teva, because there were no windows, there was no types of electrical lights. So he had different ways of lighting using stones. It was written in another place that there was types of stones. Right here it says next one, B'knisato lateva hechnis imo avanim tovot u'margaliot. He brought in different types of stones and gems. B'shayash ayu kehot. when they were weaker, it was day. When they were bright, he knew it was night. So they had certain stones, there's certain rocks that exist on planet Earth that have this type of koach, that even when it's all in a closed room, you can figure out if it's day or night from them. But people were not, the men and women were not allowed to sleep with each other on the teva. Noach saw that the malach hamavet was coming to him. So he ran inside of the teva and he got scared and he hid from him because he knew that he was coming to do his business. From all of the animals that are tahor, he passed them in front of the teva. So anyone that was able to go in the teva from those animals, he knew that there was no avirah done with it. When God told him to take two of every type of creature, animals on earth, every one of them went with its partner, male with female. So then Sheked, which is lying, came in. Noach said, you got to take a partner with you. You can't come here alone. So Sheked went around looking. Sheked didn't want to die in the Mabul. He wanted, so he found Machsar. Amarlo me'in bata. He said, where'd you come from? Amarlo min Noach. I came from Noach. I wanted to go into Teva, but he didn't let me. Till I bring some partner with me. You want to be my partner? Amarlo. He says, Umati tinli. He says, what are you going to give me? You want to be partners? I gotta make something here. Amar, itna benenu ki kol ma she'ani erchosh ata tikach. Everything I do, I take sheked, I give to you. Machsar, you're going to destroy it. Erchosh ata tikach. Asu t'nai shekol mi she'asheked rochesh. To everyone that takes sheked, machsor notel. It goes to this guy Machsor and he destroys it. Machsor is to destroy. And when Noach saw them both, he took them into the teva together. Hechnis imo devela zemorot lapilim chatzuvot latzvaim sichochiyot lanamiyot zemorot lanetiot. So he took all types of items for the different animals. For the elephants, he took zemorot, different types of branches and trees. He took zchuchit lanamiyot. For the ostriches, he took glass. So Noach, besides knowing a few things, besides knowing all the animals and knowing how to communicate with the animals, how to whistle, how to call them in, how to build the teva, he also knew which foods they ate. He understood how much quantities of food they needed. He also knew how to manage living with them. And remember, all these animals have, excrement. You can't imagine what it smelled like on the floor. He had one floor with food, one floor he was living with all of his family and the animals, and then you have all the floor with the garbage. Let's take a look. Re'em lo nechnas imo lo haya velo goryo. Okay. So he says there was another animal that was around. That's called the re'em. The re'em. There's two of them that's brought down in the Sfarim. One male, one female. They live on two sides of the earth, and it's a whole very interesting thing how she gets pregnant and has a child. Okay, and there's only two that are around at any time in the world. So the re'em couldn't come inside because of the height of it. Ela koshron Noach bateva. So Noach, in order to save it, tied the re'em to the teva, and the teva was tied to it. Wow, just like the distance of Tiberia to Susita, that's how the distance of the kesher that Noach did to tie to the re'em. I guess the karneh re'em, The karner re'em is the horn of the re'em. I guess he tied the teva to it. That's unbelievable. Umikol achai, afilu ruchot nichnasim im Noach el teva. He said, when God said, Mikol achai, from all the living, he said, even the ruchot, the spirits that live on earth, they're coming in the teva too. Meaning the Malach HaMavet had instructions to kill everything, anyone. One of the reasons why it could be why the ruchot had to come in also is because the Anshe HaMabul, the Dor HaMabul, the people that lived at that generation, they knew how to swear angels, they knew how to create new creatures, they knew how to crossbreed, they knew how to clone, they knew how to do unbelievable different things with nature, but it became completely defiled. There was, what God's creation had come so convoluted and destroyed that everything had to go, to the level that even the ruchot that were the way God created them, they had to go into Teva with Noach. Noach took only what was natural, and possibly things that were created by God that made averot that God didn't want to take into Teva, because it says that whatever the Teva was kolatato, whatever it took in, it accepted, it didn't have an averah. So it could have been that there were a lot of creatures, land mammals, birds, maybe dinosaurs, taninim, gidulim. It could have been a lot of different creatures that existed from before the time of Noach that God did not allow them to go into the Teva, and therefore they became extinct. And you might see them, in some of the museums when they do the archaeological diggings and the findings. You see some of these things, and leave aside what carbon dating is going to give you. There's other ways that people can date things, but the Mabul also had an effect on all the entire Earth, the types of water and the aging of the Earth, and everything that was there, the way it fossilized and everything had an effect from the Mabul. So it was a not natural, unnatural event that occurred that could have tremendously aged or created different types of barriers in order to properly age what was there from before the time of Noach. Vayiskur Hashem ba'ado shebakshu la'hafok et hateva, that God had to close the door on Noach and the Teva. Why? Because the people of the generation, they wanted to tip it over. Vehikifa arayot bechtei shelo yagiu ba, and suddenly lions came around the Teva and they started to attack the people in order to protect it. Kol otam shnei masar chodesh, all the 12 months, lo ta'am shena, lo Noach v'lo banav. Noach and his children, his boys, they didn't have any sleep for the 12 months that they were in the Teva. Sheyus kukim lazun et ha-behema, that to feed the behema, ve'et ha-chaya, the beast and the wild animals, ve'et ha-ofot, and the birds. Yesh behema ochelet tishtei sha'ot balayla. He says there's a behema, beast that eats 2 hours at night. Ve'esh ochelet shalosh sha'ot, and some eat for 3 hours. Pa'am achas shahan Noach lazun et ha'ari. One time Noach, he waited in order to feed the lion. Hekisho hari v'yatsa tzoleya, and the ari hit Noach, and he came out with a limp. Kol shnei masar chodesh haya Noach medayesh ala nechashim v'ala akrabim v'lo hayu mazikim oto. On all the 12 months, Noach would be around and serve the akrabim and the nechashim and the snakes. Here, I'm sure it's talking about venomous snakes, and they wouldn't attack him. Yatsa achbar min hanekev, the mouse came out of the hole. V'alach lo el Noach v'amar lo, and he said to him, Asa imi sedaka, please do charity me. V'tfor lechayai shekara li hachatul oivi hevi lo sha'ar mizanav hechzir v'tafar lo. He said, so the mouse says that the cat ripped for him. The cat, his enemy, ripped for him. Behevilo sha'ar mizanav, and he brought him a tail, and he returned it to sew it back together. Hazikit hazot lo yada Noach ma ma'achala. Hapam achat yashav upalach rimonim nafal tolat misham ve'achla mikam ve'elach haya oged kotzim. That That's brought in Sanhedrin Kufchet. So it says here that Noach didn't know the Zikit what to eat it. So one time he was sitting and he was opening Rimonim, pomegranates, and a worm fell out, and when the worm fell out, it ate it, and he knew forward how to take out the kotzim, the thorns, and how to grow it and have worms and how to feed it, which is unbelievable. Meaning Noach had to figure out some the stuff that he didn't know from some of these creatures. He must have had obviously all the foods and knew also how to preserve them. One time Noach found a bird called Orshina. Nirdam al safun hateva. It was sleeping on the safun of the teva. Amarla, he said, Ha'im enchat sicha mezonot. He said, do you need any food? Amra lo li'iticha she'incha tarud. He said, I saw that you're really busy. Amarti lo etzaer otcha. I'm not going to make you suffer. Amarla, he said, Yehi ratzon shelo tamuti. I give you a blessing that you're never going to die. This is the bird called the Orshina. So there must be a bird that exists on earth called the Orshina that is still living, because if Noach's beracha, it stays forever. 12 חודש הייתה התיבה עומדת במים כספינה עומדת בים. For 12 months, the teva was on the water just like a ship is in the sea. Okay? וישאר אח נוח, אף הוא היה גונח דם מחמת הצינה. So it says when Noach had teva, it says וישאר אח נוח. One of the mefarshim that I saw on that is that he had the pain, when he left. He was limping when he left out of the teva because of when the lion hit him when he fed him late. Except for Og melech habashan. So this was a giant Og. And he was under, I guess, a piece of the wood under the teva, or under the ladder of the teva. תחת סולמו של טבע, ונשבע לנוח ולבניו שיהיה להם עבד עולם. And he swore to Noach and to his children that he's going to be a slave for them forever. מה עשה נוח? ונוח נקב חור אחד בטבע, he made a hole in the טבע, והיה מושיט לו מזונו בכל יום ביום, ונשאר גם הוא. And he made him a little hole in the teva in order to feed Og every single day. So we had a couple of things. It's a good riddle question. What else was attached to the teva? It was Og melech habashan, and he tied the teva to the horns of the re'im. Achar mabul, after the mabul, kol zman shedin haya kayam ba'al ha'olam, that there was judgment in the world, lo niskar shemo. Kevan shedin avar, ma katuv vayizkur Elohim et Noach. When there was din on the world, the name of Noach wasn't around. Once it was removed, the name came back. כשהיה נוח נתון בטבע, היה מתפלל תמיד הוציאה ממסגד נפשי. He would pray every single day, Hashem, to please take me out of here. That's brought on Tehillim, Kuf Membet Dash Chet. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא לנוח, he said to Noach, נוח גזרה היא מלפניי, שלא תצא מהמסגד הזה עד שישלמו 12 חודש. That until 12 months is over, you're not coming out of there. So it seemed he had a prophecy from, and knew that he wasn't getting out, and he was trying to make a tefillah to change it. Noach, hacham haya. He was very wise, Noach. Vaya mevin lechishat v'tziftzuf kol hanivraim b'nim mitzamatam. He knew all the sounds, how to call the animals, how to signal to them. Amar yodeya ani she'en pekach ba'ofot kemo ha'orev ladat memino siman miyad vayishlach et ha'orev. אמר נוח, ריבונו של עולם, ידעתי כי אתה רחום, ונהפך נחמנות לאכזריות על בניך. אתה לא רחמתך על בניך, יצא זה שהוא אכזרי על בניו. לפיכך שלח את העורב, רמז הוא רמז לו. So he said he was sending the Orev. Why? Because the Orev is a creature doesn't have any mercy on his children. Why? Because it says the crow, when it's born, the crow is black. But when the chicks are born, they're white and light. And the black, when it sees that it has birds that doesn't look anything like it, it abandons them and it leaves them. And by leaving them, that abandon, it's kind of like what happened in the world, that God was the creator of the world, but he abandoned the humankind and destroyed them and just kept Noah. So Noah's kind of sending a message back. And he said furthermore, and she'en pikeach ba'ofot kemo ha'orev, that the orev is also a very intelligent bird. So it's very intelligent, but when it came to its children, it abandoned its children. Even with its big intelligence, it abandoned its children. Very nice. וישלח את היונה מאיתו דירתן של עופות טהורים אצל הצדיק. וישלח את העורב. תשובה ניצחת השיבו עורב לנוח. When Noah sent the Orev, it gave it its answer. Amar lo Rabbecha sena'ani ve'ata sena'tani. He says, your rabbi didn't like me, and you don't like me. Rabbecha sena'ani min ha'teorim lakach shiv'a shiva. When it came to the pure birds, you took all 7. Min ha'teme'im shnayim shnayim. From the not kosher, which is the Orev, you took just 2. And he said, not only that, you're leaving the ones that you have 7, and you're sending me out. I'm only one of 2. I'm the only 2 that are living in the world, and you want to send me out to this flood in order to figure it out? And what if the Sar, the angel, or he's saying if the sun beats down on me and burns me, or I'm not able to find a place, or Sar Sina, or gets freezing cold and I freeze, well, what do you want me to do? There's only 2 of us, me and my spouse, the only 2 crows. That one half us, that's it, I'm going to be extinct? You want my wife? You want my wife as a bird? Now, obviously, the crow wasn't stupid. It wasn't telling Noah, hey, you want my wife? The crow saw what happened in the previous generation. This crow had to be accepted, like we said, the Teva had to accept these animals as being kosher, so he didn't make the Averah. So he was a good crow. He said, I already survived that whole thing. There's only 2 of us. Why do you want? It's either you want my wife, or what are you sending me for? Go send someone else. Even though Noah was sending him for another message, and to the Borei Olam, that this crow is usually, bitter and cruel to its children. So he's sending a message back. But that was the claim that he had back. Amar lo Rasha. So Noah tells him he's Rasha. B'mutad li ne'esad li. My own wife, I'm not allowed. B'ne'esad li lo kol shokin. On an animal like you, all the more so. And this animal also, he seemingly observed, he was one of the birds that observed all the other birds doing the wrong things, because all the other birds didn't survive. So, Noach kilil ta'orev. So Noach, he wasn't willing to accept it. He cursed the orev. Lo tavo el nekavatcha ela bepicha mipnei she'eiz panav negdo. Lo kibel alav latzit min hateva. Now, he wasn't allowed to leave the Teva. Amar etzeh ve'yeh para ve'rabba lame'era ad shenishba l'kadosh baruch hu she'eno me'evim abud ha'olam. So Noah stayed in the Teva the whole time, and he didn't leave and say, I'm going to end up having children and populating the world, until God promised him that he's not going to bring a Mabul into the world. That's Jalkut Shimoni. Kishiatza Noach min hateva v'ra'ah et ha'olam charef. He saw the entire world destroyed. Hitchil lifkot lefanav amar Ribono shel olam nikrat chanum. When he saw the whole world that was completely destroyed, he started crying. He said, Master of the universe, you're called Rahom, you're merciful. Hayal echad lerachem al briotcha. You had to have mercy on them. Eshivu hakadosh baruch hu ro'eh shoteh. God answered him back. He said, you foolish shepherd, now Now you're saying to me after I destroyed, למה לא אמרת זאת בשעה שאמרת אמרתי לך כי אותך ראיתי צדיק לפניי וגומר? Why didn't you tell that to me when I told you you were a big צדיק? אמרתי לך זאת בכדי שתבקש רחמים על העולם. I said you're a big צדיק so you should ask רחמים on your brothers and sisters. ואתה מכיוון ששמעת את שתנצל בטבע, when you heard that I was saving you, התעלמת מלבקש רחמים. You didn't care to ask any רחמים on them. You rebuked them. They was mevazer you and they made fun of you, but you didn't bother asking for mercy. And now now you're opening your mouth to say something. When Noah saw that, he realized that God was getting angry, and that he started to do korbanot. It's put on the Zohar. Noah, והוציאו ממנה ואמר לו ולא יהיה עוד המים למבול. After he took Noah out and did all these miracles in Teva, he took him out, and he's not going to do another mabul in the world. He asked for a siman. After God told him this, he wants to see a physical type of thing in the world that showed that God is. I put inside of the cloud the rainbow, and that is for you. After the Mabul, he was Para and Rava. He populated the world. I'm not sure what that means, because I know that he didn't have any more children, because he seemingly got castrated by his son. So let's take a look if it discusses that here, because I do remember that, seeing that in another Midrash. Noah, Hikisho Ari Vishovro. The Ari, it says here Hikisho, bit. I remember seeing that he got hit, but here it says Hikisho Ari Vishovro. Vash Leshamesh Mitato Mitpazer Zaro. And he went to go sleep with his wife, and his zera came out. Adam Arishon, Akadosh Baruch Hu Natan lo reshut le'echol kol esev zorea zera. Adam Arishon, God let him eat anything that was growing out of the ground, the vegetarian. He was not allowed to eat other living creatures. And he knew that in the future he's going to be prevented from the snake, who was the one that was like naked. Ba'arum here means intelligent. Of all the hayat sadeh, of every type of creature in the field. Therefore, they were not allowed to touch any animal. And he made the mizbeach. That was the same mizbeach Adam Arishon. So I guess that was on Har HaBayit in Yerushalayim. ויעל עולת במזבח, נתן לו רשות לאכול בעלי חיים. He gave him reshut after he gave those korbanot to eat other living creatures, בעלי חיים, מפני שהוא התחזק בברית של עץ חיים והקריבו לעץ הדעת ועשה ייחוד כמו קודם. And he was able to מתחזק in the covenant of the עץ החיים to the עץ הדעת, and therefore he was allowed to go back to eating meat. There is a midrash that says that Adam Rishon was eating in Gan Eden meat and being stirred with the wine from the Malachim. So maybe he was allowed to eat the meat then, and then it was removed for him after he got thrown out of the spiritual Gan Eden and came to the physical Gan Eden on earth. Adam Rishon היה בכורו של עולם, וכיוון שקרב קורבנו לבש בגדי כהונה גדולה. Adam Rishon was the Bechor of the world, and he wore the garments of a Kohen Gadol. And all of the firstborns had that kehuna. Kevan shemet Adam masran l'shet, he gave this to Shet when he passed away. Shet gave it to the Metushelach. So it skipped a lot of generations. It went from Adam, his son, Shet, all the way to Metushelach leNoach, Amad Noach v'ikriv korban, met Noach maseran l'Shem. And it ended up, the Bigdei Kehuna ended up in Shem. Noah, כשיצא מן הטבע, הכישו ארי בשוברו, ולא היה קשה להקריב, והקריב שם בנו תחתיו. When he got attacked from the lion, and he bit him, he wasn't kasher anymore to be makriv korban as like a kohen or as a priest. So he ended up giving Shem, his son, in order to do it. Vayal ulat b'mizbeach Noach הרהר ואמר, הנה הקדוש ברוך הוא גזר על העולם שיחרב, ואולי בשכר שהציל אותי פקעו כל זכויותיי, ולא נשארו לי זכויות בעולם הזה. מיד ויבן נוח מזבח, זהו מהמזבח שהקריב עליו אדם הראשון, אם כן הוא מהו ויבן, אלא שהרשעים גרמו שלא ימות במקומו, כיוון שבא נוח ויבן. So he says that Noah went out to build that Mizbeach, even though the Mizbeach was already there from Adam HaRishon. And he was worried that maybe once God saved him, he took all the zichuyot away and he was done, and he had nothing left. So he went there in order to try to build out more zichuyot for his life. Even Noah was worried about this. And said there were Rishayim that were different before, that in order to try to remove the Mizbeach that was there, that Adam HaRishon built, but seemingly they were not successful. Vayal olot b'mizbeach al mizbeach hagadol shebYerushalayim. So that he said, like we said earlier, that it was in the Mizbeach in Yerushalayim. Noach lo hikriv otam olot ela lechaper al kilelat haaretz. Noah brought all these korbanot olot, where they all went up to God in its entirety, for the kilala, the curse that was on the land. Shor shehela Adam HaRishon upar shehela Noah, the shore that Adam HaRishon rose up with, and the par of Noah, ve'elo shel Abraham, the cow of Noah, the elo, the ram of Abraham. Kulam karnotehem kodmot leparsotehem. Their horns were before the parsotehem, the splitting of their hooves, I believe, the parsotehem. Hamizbeach shebana neheras bedora pelaga. The mizbeach that he built, Noah, or the one that he put, I guess he re-inaugurated from Adam HaRishon, was destroyed in the Dora Pelaga that he lived in. He lived 10 years after Dora Pelaga. Ishe Adama Ekar Lashem Achrut. That was talking about Noah. Ishe Adama Shatan Nafshul V'Dibo Aleh Lehotzia Mina Kelala. He was Ishe Adama because he put his heart and his soul to remove the curse out of the ground. Noach lo hikpid la'avod HaKadosh Baruch Hu ela amad v'natan kerem. Noah was not makpid in order to worship Hashem after the Mabul. He went right away and he planted a vineyard. Shlosha hem shahayu lehotim acharei hadama v'lo nimsa b'hem to'elet ve'eluhen Kain, Noach, ve'Aziyahu. There were three that they went after the Adama, and there was no to'elet, no purpose. That was Kain, Noach, and Uziyahu. V'hechan hayalo ichnis. Where did he have wine? So it says he took onto the teva, zemorot, and netiot, all types of the vines and the branches. Matzah gefen, shahanahar mashach oto migan eden. He found different types of gefen grapes that came from Gan Eden. Vishetlo lakerem, uba bo bayom parach, and he connected it to the vineyard. And that day it sprouted. He was able to take it out, squeeze it, and make it the wine from one day. And then it says here Shin Mem, and then Ot Dalit, Ot Vav, and Ot Nun. We don't say the name. Amarlo Shetepani Otcha Acha Zohar Shelo Tikanes Bechelki. So this angel told him not to get in his way, or to take from his chelik, and if he takes it, he's going to hurt him. Wow. Masa HaSatan, what did he do? Hevi keves v'hargo tachat hagefen. He brought a lamb and he killed it under the vineyard. Achar kach hevi ari v'hargo. And then later he brought a lion and killed it there. Then he killed the pig and he killed it there. Then he brought a monkey and he killed it there. And he mixed it inside of the kerem and they drank it. That Noach, talking about Noach. So maybe that's what caused Noach to be intoxicated. Wow, this is unbelievable. And this is the first I saw this. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu leNoach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Noach, Noach, lo haya lecha lelmod me'adam harishon. You were not supposed to learn from Adam Harishon. Shelo garam lo ela yain. That the problem of Adam Harishon was when he ate from the tree, it was a grape, a vineyard, and wine. Etz she'achal mimenu Adam Harishon gifen haya. That the tree was gifen. That's the Sanhedrin ayin. Vayidgal betoch aholo. And he had a happiness inside of his tent. Gila peratza harishona shaya satum betoch aholo ketib behei shzeu hacham shel adam. That's talking about when he was in his when he drank, he had that happiness, and he has a piratzut over there. Okay, it's the same source. Comes up twice in two different places. That he was happiness inside of his tent of his wife. So when he got hit or bitten from the lion, he went to sleep with his wife, and the zera came out, and he was embarrassed. He started to have some mental issues when he left the teva in his mind. By living with all the animals and the insects and the creatures and the creepy crawlers. He drank a little wine, and right away he got intoxicated. Canaan saw what happened to Noach. So Canaan saw him. So what did he do? He tied a string around his genitals, and he pushed it off he tied it in a way that it would chop it off in order to castrate him. And then he went out and he told all of his brothers. And when Ham came in and he saw it, he didn't care. He didn't want to give any honor to his father. And he went out to his brothers like he was playing with his father, and they were yelling at him. So there was an argument. Some say that they castrated him. Some say that he sodomized him. That's in Sanhedrin Ayin. The argument there. The previous one was the Yalkut Shimoni that was saying that he castrated him. Noach had a lot of pain in Teva. He didn't have a young son in order to assist him. Amar, he said, when I leave the Teva, I'm going to have a young son to assist me. When Ham did what he did to him, even though the previous sources say it was Canaan, we're going to assume that it was Ham and Canaan working side by side to do this. You prevented Noach, Ham, therefore your children of Ham are going to be an Eved, a slave to their brothers, because you prevented Noach from being able to have a young son in order to assist him while he was getting older. You prevented that, therefore you're going to become a slave. Ham and his children, actually the children of Ham, not Ham himself, to the brothers of Shem and Yefet. Noach לא מת עד שראה את כל העולם כולו ביישובו וכו' 70 אומות יוצאים מחלציו. And like we said earlier, that he lived 10 years after the Palaga. Noach didn't die until he saw the entire world grow up and get populated, cities be built, and 70 different nations and languages came out from him and from his children. Once he saw that, then he left the world, and that, I'm sure, brought him a lot of nahat ruach, that the whole new world came from him and from his people. This is from the Otzar, Ishe, HaTanach. It's a beautiful piece. It was long, there's a lot of stuff. A couple of the things was new to me. Some of the things was really interesting. You could definitely use some more research, but that's the basis of it. And you get to see a beautiful new picture of how Noach was. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen.